and live your life today. It doesn't matter what they say.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Red Lotus Life channel as we begin to expand more on our boundaries workshop. If you haven't done the boundaries workshop, please go and check it out. It's in the playlist. It's free for a little while longer. Okay, so welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new to us, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I'd like to just share a little bit about who we are and what we do. I am Lori Kinsey. I'm an advanced spiral practitioner. I specialize in domestic violence and human trafficking and working with those who have survived some of those situations and experiences. In 2018, I created the Red Lotus Life community. It has evolved and it has expanded over the years, but it has grown into this beautiful community of students of life who are seeking alternative ways of healing. So we dive deep into all the things, because back in 2018, I was somebody who didn't necessarily resonate with therapy or counseling or any of the traditional mainstream forms of healing. And I was in a place of really needing to deep dive into that. And so throughout the years, it has been an incredible journey of learning about so many different kinds of modalities besides therapy and counseling and all of that. And now we have this Red Lotus Life channel. This is Sara Elizabeth Solray. She is a spiral practitioner and womb spiral practitioner. She specializes in inner child work, also nonviolent communication, and just embodiment, which is why I'm really excited about today. Together, we co-create the Red Lotus Life membership, where we deep dive deeper into all the different modalities and topics just like today. So I'm really excited about what's going on. Today, we're going to be talking about recognizing a trigger through embodiment. So basically, the mind-body connection, how our body communicates with us through expansion and contraction. And Sara Elizabeth is like one of the masters at this. So I'm just really excited. I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics to speak on and teach about, given that it has been such a journey for me to go from a place of, having a nervous system that was completely unstable, being completely disassociated out of my body, to now really landing, being in my body, really being able to feel connected. And it's really that journey of descent. And, so many times we think it's all about the ascent, but really it's bringing spirit into matter, bringing the spirit, the soul into the body, in order to be grounded and connected, really, with the earth. And I really like to connect that even further with the earth's womb, given that I do womb work. So there's so much to be said about all of that. But when we're talking about somatics and embodiment, we can find ourselves, and this is, specific to recognizing a trigger when our boundaries have been crossed, or just a trigger in our body, when our nervous system sort of goes out of whack, but it's always speaking to us. It's always speaking to us. And so when we can learn what it feels like in the body when we're in a state of expansion versus in a state of contraction, and how to move through that, then we are really able to respond with those boundaries in a much different way.
Yeah. Something I forgot to mention at the beginning of this is that I am experiencing some weather today. So I hope that it doesn't transfer over into this Red Lotus Life, this episode. But yeah, I can really resonate with what you're talking about, what you're speaking to, because as someone who is a survivor of extreme situations with domestic violence, that's the very first thing that I personally have experienced, is that disconnection from mind body, right?
Mhm.
Almost as if, blacking out, or being on the outside of the body, like being out on the outside of the body and like looking in and just kind of watching what's happening in the scenario of what's happening. And that's all about really just protection, right? That's what we go into, is protection and survival mode. So to really
Coping
feel that,
mechanism.
what's that?
I was just saying it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the easiest one, I think, for the body to do. It's the ego mind, right? The mental mind that kind of creates that for us, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's not safe. Peace out. Peace out, disconnecting, coming over here. Also, I really enjoyed what you had to say about that, the spirit and bringing the spirit into matter. That is huge.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. So are we ready to go into it?
Yes, totally ready to go into it. And I do want to mention as well, especially as spiral practitioners, we talk about the 5 bodies a lot. And so it's good to know that you can experience contraction or expansion in any of the 5 bodies. And I'm sure that we will explain more about that. Or if you have questions about that, please ask in the comments. But these things can happen in any of the bodies. So spiritual, mental, emotional, energetic, physical. There's so many different ways that they can show up in all of the bodies.
Yeah, I love that. We actually do go into that deep into the Red Lotus Life membership when we talk about that with all of the integration. That's one of the things that's very different about the spiral modality that I really love. This is why I became a practitioner. I used to be a really good client for all of these other modalities. And then when I found the spiral, I was like, oh, this needs to happen. There was such transformation. And it's because we integrate using the 5 bodies. And just the knowledge in and of itself right there is huge. So yeah, happy that you brought that up. Okay, we ready?
We are ready.
Okay, let's see if I can share my screen. All right, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes, I can see. If you can just scroll up just a little bit.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, there
Yeah.
we go. Okay.
Okay, so this is how to recognize a trigger. This is the somatic mind-body embodiment piece that ties it all together. So when we're in a state of expansion, your energy feels expansive. You may feel light, open, full, optimistic, joyful, peaceful, euphoric, and alive. This is a state that is often unfamiliar territory for many. So because we're always in a state of sort of survival mode and doing, or maybe the relationship dynamic or the work dynamic is, it's not one that feels good or feels safe to you. There's so many times when we just are in a constant state of fight, flight, or freeze, rather than feeling like this euphoria and this aliveness.
Yeah, this is really big, because I like how you're like, it feels light, it feels open, you feel joyful. This is when you feel safe, is when you're in the body and it's like, oh, I have all of this space, right? All of this space. And I just want to, like, remember those little kids, right? As a little kid and you see them and they're playing and they just take up space. It is unfamiliar once you're in these relationships. And if you've been in these relationships for a long period of time, it's actually one of those feelings that you forget what that feels like. You've been conditioned to forget. You're not allowed to take up this space, right?
Right. And it's also really important to remember as we begin to experience these periods of expansion, and then the longer these periods of expansion last, often that will be followed by a period of contraction. And within these periods, there's always a lesson to be learned, or clarity to be found, or an epiphany. So just keeping in mind that when we feel this expansion, it's very, very normal to suddenly find ourselves in a state of contraction. And when you're able to recognize those times, you're able to move through it with much more ease and grace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up too, because it's that whole thing of moving every time you move forward and then you feel like you're taking 2 steps back. It's that whole phrase of moving 1 step forward, but now I'm 2 steps back, and feeling as if you're not really getting anywhere. But this is actually, we can go into this when you talk contraction, but contraction can also actually be integration, which is what we dive into deeper actually in the Red Lotus Life membership.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely integration. And oftentimes we come out of that period of contraction back into a much more expansive energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So when we're in a state of contraction, your energy feels, of course, contracted. You may feel closed. Your body language might be closed. You feel heavy. There might be anger, anxiousness. You might be bored. You just might be sad. And these periods, again, can come on really, really hard and quick, or they can be gradual over days or weeks. And I know for me, there have been times where I can feel so expansive and then have a single conversation and instantly go into a state of contraction. That very, very much depends on the interpersonal dynamics as well as your environment, from my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you were talking about that, I was thinking some of the experiences that I had, I would be, having the best day ever. Right. And it doesn't matter which relationship it was in. If I was in an unsafe relationship, I'd be having the best day ever. And I'd be so joyful, so happy. But then the second that my partner would come in, and like I said, it didn't matter. This is almost textbook. This is almost textbook if you're in these types of relationships. The second the partner would come in that I was in a relationship with, and if they were having a bad day, or it really didn't matter. It didn't matter. The second they walked in, their energy spoke for them. Instant contraction, right? Instant contraction, instant wanting to walk on eggshells. Don't see me, don't hear me. I'm just going to make sure everything is perfect. And I noticed that not only with myself, but for anyone else who was around me too. So it could be the kids, it could be family members, it could be friends. All of a sudden, everybody was like, we would have been so big and bold before. And I don't mean big and bold necessarily, but let's just say loud. And then all of a sudden, everything just gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, the vibration really does sort of follow the frequency, and the vibration follows. And, especially as people who are highly sensitive or empathic in any way, you pick up on that really, really quickly. And it is many times as soon as they walk into the room.
Yeah.
Or as soon as you walk into a room.
Yeah, exactly. No one even needs to say a word. And
Right.
this is what the body can do for you. The body can pick up on that just like this.
The nervous system.
Yep.
Okay, so body cues when we're in a state of expansion. So this is when we're really feeling into our nervous system and feeling into the stability of our nervous system and what it looks like, feels like in our bodies when we're in a state of expansion. So again, we're going to have that open chest and open heart. Our posture is erect. Our shoulders are back. We're standing up tall. Our heads are probably being carried a little bit higher. The breath slows and deepens because, again, we're coming back to homeostasis and stability. The heart rate slows, feel that you have a feeling of fullness. There's tingling sensations in the body, just, excitement, and your muscles will become more relaxed. And then again, the calm and stable nervous system. So this is a place where it's a goal, like a desire to sort of be in this state more and more often than not.
This is actually the natural state, even. This is a natural state of where we strive to be in at all times. I know that a lot of the people that I work with personally, one-on-one, they don't even know what this means. And it takes a lot of releasing that conditioning, right? That conditioning. We actually are in a society where this is not the norm. It doesn't matter if you've been in a domestic violence or abusive situation or not. Our society wants us to be stimulated all the time. So for some people, they're like, I don't even remember what this is like. And how do I sustain this all the time? But this is the type of stuff that in the membership that we release the conditioning around this, and we start to implement and integrate this. And it's amazing what happens when this becomes a normal state for the body, right? It's like a state of euphoria, actually. This is what sovereignty is.
Yes. And then you really, really quickly begin to learn as you practice and you're in these spaces of expansion more and more often. We can identify when we're in a state of contraction so much more quickly.
Yeah, it's almost instantaneous. And then you go, okay, wait, what's going on? Like, what's going on? I've contracted. What's not in alignment? Or like just all those survival skills go up, right? It's like all your spidey senses all of a sudden are going, okay, what's happening? What's going on? And the survival skills kick in.
Right. And at that point, we're really operating from that root chakra, which we also go into more depth in the membership group. That is level 1 of the spiral. So.
Yeah, very cool.
Okay, so body cues when we are in a state of contraction. Again, we're going to have that closed chest and heart, the posture slumps. We may have digestive issues, dizziness, disassociate, leaving the body. We might feel fatigued, depressed. The heart rate will increase usually. The muscles may be tense. An inability to articulate, and this one was really big for me. Being in a state of contraction for so much of my life, and then in different relationship dynamics, I did find myself not being able to articulate, and I actually, it was a point of sort of embarrassment or not feeling good enough for quite some time, and it has gotten better. It has gotten better. Sweaty palms, is there heat in your face? Are you feeling heat anywhere else in your body? Are you sweating? And is your nervous system in a state of fight, flight, freeze? Or fawn? Also, fawn is a really big one. Maybe not so well known, but definitely is getting a lot more traction. But that's basically when your body is responding, even though you don't necessarily want to be responding. And that can be, lots and lots of different situations. But for me, it really showed up within sexual context.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I can really resonate with every single one of these. And now that, we do this work, I can recognize this, even you're talking somatics, and I can recognize this even in the way that somebody is standing. I can tell by, when you're talking about posture slumps, we go over this in the membership as well, but even like how the pelvic is sitting, how the legs are, the knees, all of that, the shoulder, just so much of our body describes the situations that we're in to the external world. The inability to articulate, that is huge in an abusive situation. You really just don't have it, right? You don't have it at all. And you're also conditioned to not have it. And then this nervous system and fight, flight, freeze. And yeah, the fawn, especially in a sexual way, right? I'm glad that you touched on that, because fawn is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. You know, the fight is fighting, right? You're going to fight your way out of that. Flight is running from it. Freezing is paralyzed. You just paralyzed. You're freezing in that moment. And then the fawning is the people pleasing and doing anything and everything to just make it better and make it better and make it better, right? So our bodies speak volumes to us.
They are speaking volumes to us, or it is speaking volumes to us, minute by minute, second by second. And when we are able to get to a place where we really, really listen to the cues within our body, whether it's even a pain or and those pains and all of these different ways of feeling are usually always pointing to an emotion. And so when we're able to connect all of these pieces and really bring our nervous system back to a place of stability, back to center, then we're able to respond in ways that are so much more healthy. We're not reactive. You know, we can take a deep breath and really just we're taking a deep breath and just responding instead of reacting, honestly.
This is why I started Red Lotus Life in the very beginning, is just because I knew that that wasn't the case with me. And so I was seeking these other ways of healing so that I could create that mind and body connection, because I didn't have that. There was that disconnect just wasn't there. And every time I was going to see a different type of let's say a doctor or a therapist or something like that, then they were truly wanting to put me on antidepressants. And not saying, this is not even a discussion about antidepressants. I'm not against antidepressants or anything like that, or medications or anything. It was just one of those things where I personally didn't want to go that route. And so this is where I was seeking other things. So and now that I've been able to work through all of that with different practitioners such as yourself and other people, where I have been able to be embodied and create that mind-body connection again. It's just like what we were talking about, those spidey senses, like right then and there. It's instant, especially whenever you know your human design and you have like the splenic gates or defined or undefined and all those things that we go into deeper into the membership. There are ways to there's ways to do this in a very quick and rapid time. I've never experienced anything like it before. So embodiment has been huge for me.
Huge. Again, even going back to the piece around articulation, just not being in the body, not being allowed, like being spoken over, and just a myriad of different experiences that were cumulative over many years. Being able to come back to the body, being able to take a deep breath, center, ground, and actually probably you'll notice that I actually speak like this to those of you who are watching. I speak like this on a regular basis. I'm taking a deep breath, I'm thinking about what I'm saying, and then I'm articulating. And that way I'm sure that what I'm saying is coming from a heart-centered place. And that I'm responding and not reacting.
Yeah, that's exactly what this releasing conditioning does. the work that we do as spiral practitioners is you just don't and I say you, meaning all of us, we don't realize how much we've been conditioned, even from a young age as a toddler, and being told, shh, be quiet, that again is that not able to articulate because we're conditioned in that way. So yeah, there's so much goodness to becoming embodied. Even that in and of itself has been, I can't speak on it more. The embodiment and just learning how the body is this vessel and is communicating constantly with us.
With us, with our environment, with the earth. And it's been amazing to witness your journey. And I know even just, again, touching back on that articulation piece, I know that you remember me, and it hasn't been that long ago that was a huge issue for me.
Yeah, it's been beautiful to witness your journey as well, because it is true. It's so interesting. This is the biggest part, I feel like, when we start to release our conditioning around all of this, right? Is not even realizing where you are. So then having that self-awareness. So like for me, zero clue. I was one of those people, zero clue. You could talk to me about domestic violence all day long. You could talk to me about abuse all day long. You could talk to me about all of these things all day long. And I was clueless that I was even in any of these situations. I mean, yes, I thought it wasn't right. Yes, I thought, to be honest with you, I just kind of thought, well, this is when the newness wears off, right? But now I'm really like, I know different. I'm married to an amazing man who has shown me. So like, it is the epitome of unconditional love. Never knew that before. Didn't even know it existed.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, it's incredible.
Right. And when you've never known that level of safety, then you don't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah. And, I actually want to take this back around to that fawning point where you talked about in a sexual way, right? It could be in that way. I didn't realize how much I associated sex and love in that way. So whenever you fully get into a relationship that is not built around that, it is completely different. Yeah, I don't know. It's just very different. Do you have anything to talk on that? Because you're the one that brought it up. So,
well, when I experienced fawning, in past situations, basically, let's see, how do I want to express this?
See, this right here is great. It's a response versus a reaction. It's just taking a breath, taking a breath and going, how do I want to say this?
Okay, so because I'm speaking in the context of sexuality, basically when you're in a place of fawning, everything in your being can be a full no, but your body will still physically or may still physically respond. And that can be very confusing, because if your body is responding as if you are in a state of arousal, then if everything in your being is saying, no, this is not what I want to be doing right now, but you're not able to use your voice, but yet your body's responding, it's very conflicting. And that's what it looks like when your body is in a state of fawning.
Yep, can totally relate, totally resonate. That's a whole nother topic. We need to do a whole thing on just that. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share on embodiment?
Again, it just goes back to practicing, to breathing, to really looking at those cues, feeling into the body, and noticing when you are in a state of expansion versus contraction, and then being able to learn how to shift, learn what to do to shift, especially when you're in a state of contraction. And there's so many different things. For me, meditation, walking, hiking, moving the body. It can even be a shower, like just cleansing your energy. And there's so many different ways to be able to shift it, and noticing, and also just communicating with the body and asking it. Because so many times you will hear the answer, if you can be quiet enough to listen.
Yeah, one of the things, as you were speaking on that just now, I was like, what are some of the ways? Remember when we talked about this last week, of the ways to communicate those? Okay, so the way to communicate the boundaries. One of the things that I really have been working with the last few years is energetically being able to do that, so that I don't have to say anything. It's just my energy is going to show that, right? And one of the things that I learned whenever I was working with a somatic practitioner was that stance, right? And you literally will just stand straight. You make sure your pelvis is under your hips, your knees aren't locked, pelvis under the hips. You start to literally align the chakras from the root all the way to the crown, head back, shoulders back, head back, all of that. All of a sudden, you are immediately in a state of empowerment. And that actually expands. We'll talk about that, expands out. And so I was practicing with that actually, and it expresses those boundaries and communicates those boundaries without having to say anything. So
absolutely. And also expansion is also expressed energetically, just like you're saying, when you align the chakras and you come into this place of like, my boundaries are here, I'm here. This is my no, but it can also really express a yes as well. So body language is really important to pay attention to, because we may not have to verbally express a boundary with someone. Like, if you're going to lean into, if our body language is leaning into a hug or into a romantic gesture, we can express that with our energy as well.
Yeah. Again, it's just teaching others how to treat you, right?
Yes.
And how you desire to be treated. I guess that's actually what it is. It's teaching others and expressing and communicating in another way, even with that expansion and contraction of how others can treat you. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Was there anything else that you wanted to say?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here with us. As always, thank you for sharing your time and your energy and being here present with us. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, and most of all, and most importantly, share this with somebody that you know that may be able to find value in this. And then if you're interested in diving deeper into any of the things that we spoke about today, we do have the Red Lotus Life membership. We have the link below if you'd like to join. And I guess that's it. Just have an amazing, fabulous day.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
And live your life to